Well, the last thing I would ever do is brag on myself or draw attention to, things that I've been right about. But remember when Andrew Cuomo got the hook for having, the magic fingers as the governor and they threw him out of office? And I told you he still has $18 million in a campaign war chest and he's a political animal and he's most definitely coming back. Remember when I told you that? Yeah, News 12 New York's reporting the man is set to make a run for mayor. The old oracle nailed it again. Joining me now to congratulate me and talk about this is my friend Inez Stepman, senior policy analyst from the Independent Women's Forum. Inez, do you have anything you'd like to say to me right now?
Oh, what you mean, commenting on your genius and foresight? I feel like you've left nothing left to say.
Thanks, Inez. That's all I needed to hear from you. No, all right. So how does this work? Obviously, he's a political animal from a political family. He's now going to be mayor? That's a bit of a downgrade.
I mean, it is and it isn't in New York, right? Don't forget that Rudy Giuliani ran for president coming out. I mean, being the mayor of a city of 9 million people is not like, being the mayor, like a small town mayor. It's more people than I think some states probably. I don't know the exact number of people for example, in Wyoming, but governing New York City is quite a big job. So.
Yeah. All right. And as for those of us who are not New Yorkers, which you are, how does this work? What do the politics look like in New York? Because they don't all get along. We look at a Democrat state. We see Letitia James. We see Kathy Hochul. We see Eric Adams. We see all these, the Alvin Braggs, and we think, well, they're all on the same team. But New York is a famously competitive state where Democrats will slip a knife between the ribs of the next Democrat in line in a heartbeat. So who's friends with who?
I'm not sure if anyone knows at this point, but the tension between the governor and the mayor of New York City is not a new phenomenon. I do want to point out that both of these people, so Cuomo almost certainly was taken out by an interior Democrat hit to avoid, in part, questions about the decisions he made about nursing homes during COVID, right? So instead, there was this sort of internal Democrat hit to take him out for being a little too handsy and making some comments in the office. I guess Me Too is now just the weapon du jour among Democrats to take out each other behind the scenes. But just like what happened with Eric Adams, it really seems like a case of one was, I guess, selective Me Tooing, and the other one selective prosecution. Because I have a hard time imagining that Bill de Blasio wasn't accepting, first class upgrades on his flight and nice hotel rooms. Famously, he was very cozy with developers in New York. So like this level of corruption is sort of endemic, not just to New York, but unfortunately to many of America's large blue cities. So, it does smack a little bit of selective prosecution then, that the fact that Eric Adams was taken out, which for really ticky-tack kind of stuff. This wasn't like Grand Tammany Hall level corruption. This was, upgrades in hotel rooms for pushing the permitting process a little faster.
Yeah, and honestly, for a New York politician, I don't even think that rises to the level of crimes. New Jersey, there's stuff in gold bars underneath the bed. Get with the program, New York. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit here because it's kind of national. How's Donald Trump able to kill congestion pricing in New York? What happened here?
Okay, so there's two things involved here. One is the fact that this congestion pricing is affecting travel coming from New Jersey into New York. We think about the tri-state area as one blob, but it is in fact three separate states, and so there's interstate travel involved here. The other aspect is that apparently there's a law on the books from 1916 that allows the federal government to veto a toll on any road that was built in part with federal funds, which is virtually all roads, major highways, and so on. I'm actually not 100% sure about the constitutionality of that law. Here, I would look at the case South Dakota against the United States, that this is when the federal government tried to institute the drinking age at 21 in all states, and South Dakota was a holdout and said, no, we're going to serve 18-year-olds beer in our bar, and that's our decision. And the federal government came in and said, no, you have to, because the number of drunk drivers on the road is correlated with where the drinking age is, and therefore we, the federal government, have the right to tell South Dakota what its drinking age should be if they want federal highway funds. This is a closer nexus than that. The Supreme Court upheld that, but a lot of conservatives, myself included, think that was probably a mistake. This is a closer nexus, though, than that, right? You're talking about federally in part federally funded roads, and a toll being laid on top of the road is directly authorized by Congress, the power for the federal government to say, nope, we don't want that toll. So, at least on federal law, I think the Trump administration's on pretty solid ground here, actually. Even though it's surprising. I had the same surprise reaction. I was like, how can the federal government tell New York City where to have its toll, like what stupid tolls you can put on? But apparently there is a congressionally authorized power to do this.
Okay. And as before I let you go real quick, I have to ask you about the piece you wrote about Trump in universities. What can he do to change the rotten system we have?
There's so much he can do, and I think his administration is already working on. There really are two major hammers here. One is that universities are completely dependent on federal money. We were just talking about federal highway funds, right? Universities much more direct recipients of the federal teat. First of all, there's billions of grants. They make up, anywhere from about 50% of the operating budget of a lot of Ivy League universities. That's in grants for research. Now, some of that might be, good research that we want money going to, like research on cancer. A lot of it, as we're seeing with the DOGE spotlight on all of these government agencies, is for DEI programs, is for actively pernicious, government BS that really shouldn't be funded by the American taxpayer. So that's one lever against them, is all these grants, which DOGE is going through as we speak. The second lever is just the student loan programs. I mean, the actual lifeblood of universities and the reason they've been able to raise tuition year after year well above inflation and put such a squeeze on so many middle-class families is because the federal government underwrites the student loan program. Like, if you think about it, like if you went to a bank and you said, I want to attend a 2000th ranked, small university, and I want to study queer studies, okay, and I want a loan for $150,000, Wells Fargo is going to look at that application and say, how do you plan to pay back $150,000? Whereas the federal government just gives a blank check, and that allows universities to keep raising the price, right? Because there's just this blank loan system that keeps up with the price of tuition. So in both those cases, universities are vulnerable. They've been violating the Civil Rights Act, Title 6, 7, and 9 over and over again, blatantly, repeatedly, and publicly. They have just made themselves incredibly vulnerable. And from what I hear, Congress and the Trump administration are looking at a tax on endowments. So universities in a world of hurt potentially in the next year. So
Yes, burn it all down, Trump. Inez, thank you so much. So excited. Inez, thank you. Come back soon. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.